Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Another kitchen time. This is part 3 of what is effectively the first session of sorting out Derek's plants, because I was limited by the number of pots, as stated in part 1, and until I've got some more pots in, which will either come from Peter White or from Sarah's, I'm not sure yet. But I'll get some more pots in. So the others, the repotting of the rest of the plants, is going to have to wait until I have suitable pots. But so part 3 will be the end of session 1, we'll call it. Right, same principle as in part 2. Get a plant out, have a look at it and get it potted. This is Oncidium praestans, so species, slightly larger plant than some of the others we've been dealing with. See what we've got. There's a bulb at the back needs coming off straight away, but I'm more interested in what's below ground here. This is a sort of larger plant than the others. Again, minimal root interference, just gently teasing off the old media where it wants to come off easily. Where it doesn't, it can stay there, except for moss, that's coming off. Right, so I've seen worse root systems, I must admit. That section's dead. I will trim that. And no bulbs to come off. They can all stay. They can all stay. It's a plant that will just sit. We've got new roots growing in places, so this one should recover okay. But that complete section of dead roots is coming off, as are they. It's the first root trimming I've done. But there was an obvious bit of dead roots there. It actually goes with that tiny little bulb, but that tiny little bulb has actually got just about functioning leaves on, so it can stay. So right, that's that one. Now more roots to get in the pot this time, so I can still go in one of the smaller ones. So same principle again. Try and pick some of the larger stuff, the non-gritty stuff, to just get in the bottom. But I don't want too much crocking as such. There's a hairy bit there, we'll have that out, because this has got roots that go quite deep down. So we give them a bit of a twist to make sure they sort of come away from the side of the pot. This is the latest growth, so that's the most likely place where the new growth is going to come from. And that's the bit that stays in the middle of the pot to give it room. Potting this one a little higher in the pot this time, so that there's deeper media to accommodate what is a bigger root system than some of the others we've had. Settle it in, make sure the latest growth, where the new growth is going to come from, is sat on the top, not buried, just sat there. So that's that one done. Oncidium praestans. The name, the praestans element of that crops up relatively frequently in other plants, other genera. Right, this is an ODM, so this is an actual odontoglossum, or was originally, and it is Luteo purpureum variety Skeptrum, it says here, which is a mouthful. And yeah, I bet there's loads of those floating around. I bet everybody's got one of these. Yeah, like hell. Ooh, a fleshy root system, first one. Which implies to me this plant should be an awful lot bigger than it is. And we have live roots. Excellent. So I'll just try and tease some of that out, see if it'll come out without taking that root off. Dead root there, you can come off. Now, again, we study the plants. This is the new growth with the roots. There's actually another new growth. Oh no, it's just a thing. So we've got a bulb with a new growth with roots, and we have two really manky old bulbs that hopefully are just going to part, because otherwise they'll have to be buried, which I don't want to do. Scissors, don't struggle. Sometimes they just bend off, and you do, that'll do. and other times they just won't move, so you need to get your scissors and stop tearing if it could damage the rest of the plant. Just getting the sheaths off, especially there where the new roots are. Can encourage rot if you leave those sheaths. I'd like to get that one off, but I think I'm highly liable to damage something in this area if I try and get that one off, so that can stay. So there we go. Live roots. Excellent. We like this. How come I'm... Oh, I had one with quite a lot of roots, didn't I? I seem to be getting an excess in here. You know, a bit of a build-up that isn't getting used. But, you know, I did say in part one that, you know, plants with roots on, the media that comes out of the little pot won't necessarily all go back in. So, let's get this one in nicely. Where's the next growth going to come from? There. So, move that back a bit. Right, there we go. Now, I think this idea of minimal contact with the roots, it is quite a sound practice. It is quite good. I mean, I am, or have been, I think I'm changing my ways now, a bit of a bruiser when it comes to repotting. People have said, oh, I can't believe how hard you press that down. Well, I won't say those days are completely gone, but I am changing my ways. Being a lot more gentle with the roots I've got. Now, if I had a huge, big, healthy root system on an Oncidium type, I'd probably be doing it a bit quicker than this. But I haven't, and as I said, I'm treating these plants like little bits of treasure, because in some cases they're probably irreplaceable. And that's important to me, both as the memory of Derek. He befriended me when first time I associated with Bournemouth Orchid Society. I went on their coach trip, and I didn't know anyone, and the guy who was dealing with the coach trip took me money and sort of looked at me a bit strange. I don't know you. So I explained that I'd, you know, seen the coach trip advertised, for, you know, open to non-members. I am a non-member, and joined in, and Derek came up and introduced himself. Hi, I'm the chairman. Are you interested in joining? And I said, maybe, but today I want a trip to Burnham's for 10 quid, which is all the coach was. You can't drive there for that, you'd use far more fuel than that. Right, so this is an Oncidium, and it's Emrys Jones, it says here, and virtually no internet contact with that exact name, so pass, don't know. Right, got an old bulb there that would have to be buried. He needs to come off. What we've got on this plant is not very good roots, but there are some, and some of these root tips are alive. This has had probably a slug, took a bite out of it at one point, but it's healed, and yeah, that's recoverable. That should be okay. So, another little bot. It's in the bottom. Twist that the other way this time. So I don't know, well, people who are left or right-handed probably naturally twist something in a certain direction, but that needed to go the other way because of the way the roots were bending round. So I'll be watering these, take them out in the grow room, and they'll get watered straight away, and then they'll probably get watered again tomorrow, or at least the day after, because the cocoa husk is dry and it'll take a while to wet properly and do its job that it's been put in here for. That's a bit wobbly, that one, but I think I may just about press that one down a little bit. It's better. Right, so we've got two labels here, both saying the same thing, and both with history, and they're both different, and they cross over. So that one possibly is Derek's label, and one is somebody else's, and they could both be somebody else's, but we only need one for now. Over there. Right, so that's that one. Right, now we've got this. This one's a little interesting because it's the only one I've found that's got live moss on the top, which implies it's been in there a while, but I bet it hasn't. I bet what's happened is it was lifted out of the old media and the moss stayed there, and somebody thought, that looks nice, I'll leave it, rather than it's actually grown on the pot. And I would suggest, yes, that's probably true. But this time it is coming off. I need to see what's going on. So I've got a root going down into there. There's a piece of bark in the middle of the moss, that's what was holding it. But this is live moss, I don't mind if that stays there. It's the zombie moss I don't want left there. Right, again, you've got a nice little plant here that's green, and then some orangey coloured old bulbs here that need to come off, and that's going to leave the tiniest of plants behind. Roots, some of these are, there's a green root tip there. These aren't all dead and papery, let's put it that way. So these two can come off. And there's actually a nice root coming down there as well. That was going in behind those old bulbs. Right. So, tiny little plant left, but so be it. So be it. Right, and then the last one that's left is in quite a big pot, but the plant's actually not, it isn't bigger than the ones we've been dealing with, it's just been put in a bigger pot. You often find things are potted in the wrong size pot because that's the only pot that was there at the time. I mean, I've had to do that in the past. And you know, the reason I'm stopping after 10 plants in this session is literally because I haven't got any more of what I consider to be the right size pots. And my theory of always planting Oncidium types in the smallest pot possible can't even be done this time because the plant would be minute. And there's a limit to how small you can go and still be sensible about it, because if it gets too small, it'll dry in an instant. You know, if you want to water a pot like you do a mount virtually every day, then fine. But most people don't. So you just go that one size bigger. There we go. That's that little one. So hopefully the I've forgotten what this is. Oh, I didn't even say, did I? This is Oncidium laeve, L-A-E-V-E, species, old Burnham's label, all in capitals. So that's that little tiny one to grow on again. And last but not least is, as I said, it's a small plant, it's just in a bigger pot. Have we got a name on this one? We have. Now this is an ODCDM. So that's an Odontocidium. So that's a cross between an Odontoglossum and an Oncidium. And bearing in mind the Odontoglossum's probably an Oncidium nowadays. And when we looked at this, when I was first looking over the plants, I thought that said Mag Fair. It actually says Mayfair. Thank you, Google. And Mayfair, Golden Gate, an awarded plant. So again, and probably a long time ago, and in, I would say, virtually non-existence nowadays. So precious treasures these are. And I suspect an awful lot of these have come from Derek's acquaintances and friends. He'd have put the word out when he moved house and lost a lot of his collection, and people will have rallied round, I suspect. He's a well-known character in the orchid world, has been for many, many years. He was our chairman for about 40 years, and obviously you don't join an orchid society and become chairman immediately. That don't happen. So, we've been around in the Orchid Society a long time. Now what we've got here is a creeper, which we're going to have to stop to get it going. Little stubs of new roots showing that are good on this new growth. So let's hope it continues to grow. Unfortunately, the oldest bulb is the one with the yellow leaf. Well, the fact that it's a yellow leaf, it's non-functional. So we'll take that one off. It's taken a few of the older roots off as well, and I can plant that at a slight angle and maintain the rest of the roots. As I say, there are some new roots with green tips, so quite a lot of sheaths around the base, which I'd rather weren't there. As I say, they hold water and can cause some rot around the rhizome, so if you can get them off without messing anything up and knocking all your root tips off, it's worth having a go. Right. Last one. Let's get some of these flipping pots out of the way here. It's a shame actually, because I don't use these sort of pots. These normally go in the dustbin. Plastic recycling. Because it's too much hassle to get them to somebody else, if you see what I mean, because it means I've got to look after them and find somebody else that wants them. There might be loads of people out there that want them, but I don't know who they are. And I don't want to clean them up and store them. So they tend to get thrown away because I don't use them. Right. I want to sit down. There's one root that's doing that and won't go down. It's got a green tip on it as well. You are going to go down. I've made up my mind. Stick. Now, this is another one. You see the plant is now too deep, so instead of taking the media out, you lift the plant up and start tapping again. Now it's nearer the top of the pot, and it now has more media to go down into. Right, that's the last one. Nice unusual cross that. Oncidium Mayfair. So, as I said, some of these are probably irreplaceable. So let's hope I can manage to grow them all and not lose too many. I don't expect a loss-free saga with these plants, I really don't. I would expect to lose some down the line somewhere. But hopefully this media is suitable for them, and as I say, keep my eye on the watering. They are separate in the grow room, which is a form of quarantine. Not that I think it's necessary, but the reason they're taking up two separate shelves at the moment, which are shelves I wasn't using for anything else, they're a little shaded in that area until they get some roots going, then they can come into a bit better light. They're also low down, which will keep them cooler, yeah, rather than anywhere up near the roof where it gets quite warm. And hopefully they will now start to grow. But I've got to watch these small pots. They're going to dry. They're not going to be in my same watering cycle that my other orchids are. So, I've got cooler, shadier types, holy clay pots, and all the other pots. And I've now got Derek's pots. So I've now got 4 watering cycles to look out for. And these are probably going to be closer to the mounts than any of the others. But so there we go. Clean up the mess. Get these back out in the grow room. Give them a good soak. Now, as I say, often after repotting, because if I use the coconut fibre, coconut husk, when it was wet, which is what I normally do, I'd normally not water them for a day. But these are bone dry, absolutely bone dry, so they need water, and they'll probably need it again tomorrow. Get this cocoa husk soaked in properly, and then the bark will dry. The charcoal doesn't really get wet anyway, and the grit certainly won't get wet. There's no water going in Cornish grit, that's for sure, which leaves the cocoa husk to do its job and keep some moisture in the pot around the roots, and hopefully encourage some growth. Root growth, I mean, first. That's what we need. All these plants need root growth, not top growth. They need root growth. Then they can push on the top growth. So there we go. That was that session. 10 plants done, 3 videos, and I won't be visiting Derek's plants again until I get some more suitable pots, whenever that might be. We shall see. See you next time.